Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to have it over the top?
Yes, put the phone on with Carl, and we're going to get some information. This is a breaking news story, and we have just found out about it. I'm here with Katie Clary of Peace for Animals and Donna Dennison, and we've just gotten this. Hello. Is this Carl? Is this on speaker?
This is on speaker, yeah.
Okay, let's make it louder.
Hi, Carl. This is as loud as it goes, I think.
But we live up on Mount Kenya, so things are a little bit different than in New York.
Okay, can you get in a seat so you don't...
Here. Sit down.
Okay, thank you.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so, all right, we're broadcasting this, and this is breaking news. We're trying to get this information out about the elephants. Tell us who you are and tell us what you found out about approximately 34 baby elephants in Zimbabwe being ripped away from their mothers and being held for transport. What do you know and what did you find out? What's your name? Where are you? What did you find out?
Okay, my name is Carl from here, Mount Kenya in Kenya, and I have not done any ground research in Zimbabwe where these elephants are being captured. Like most people, all this information came about 4 or 5 days ago on the internet, and I think there was one source which broke the story first in email form, and I just added my comments to it on the basis that I know quite well the China and the demand end, which is that where these elephants are meant to go, and I quite well know what's going to happen to these elephants once they reach China and what the legal aspects might be.
Well, Carl, I want to interrupt you because the Telegraph is now reporting that they're not going to China, that they're going to the United Arab Emirates. Mm-hmm. And I can read you the report that just came up just now. And essentially, it says Zimbabwe's minister told the Telegraph it was normal for wildlife to be captured in the country's largest game reserve and exported from time to time. So the Telegraph is essentially saying that Zimbabwe's government is admitting that they captured these baby elephants, but the Telegraph says that they're planning to export them to the United Arab Emirates, despite warnings from conservation groups that taking them away from their mothers could kill them.
This is via Savior. Savior is Zimbabwe, the head of Zimbabwe's pretty much
environmental and wildlife
and animal welfare organization.
I have seen the Telegraph piece as well, checked with the source, which says that Zimbabwe has stated they have 100 elephants on order, that the game department has 100 elephants. They might try to confuse the issue in a sense that they might have orders from other countries as well, and they might feel it's easier for them to list the UN, one of the order countries, and not emphasize China because that might be a bigger issue than them going to the UN. And it could be a bigger issue, but even if they went to the UN, what will they do? They will stand around in the desert in private collections. It's not essentially where elephants belong. Okay, well-run zoos can have elephants, especially if they're born in captivity and they're used to captivity, but wild-caught elephants should not be introduced in captive settings. They can breed their own elephants in various zoo settings.
Now, Carl, we all agree here that this is a horror, that this is a terrible idea, that ripping baby elephants away from their mothers when they're not weaned, when they're not at that stage where they should separate from their mothers is torturous, that putting them in crates and then shipping them by air, by sea, however they're going to ship them is horrific. We're just trying to get details because American people don't know about this. We found out about it from Christopher Gervais through an email just earlier this evening. Katie Clary with Peace for Animals, Judy Mancuso from Social Compassion and Legislation, and myself were together when we found out about this, and we just decided to try to get the information out to the American people. That's why we try to do a Google Hangout with you. So we're now just hearing your voice. But if you could speak up and just tell us what you know. I mean, how did you find out about this?
And then I got the need from a friend down in South Africa who heard who wants to know if I had heard about it, and I told him no, not, but I will put my feelers out. So I put my feelers out at the China, where I have some contact in the zoo community, and they said yes, there's several places that would like elephants in China, but there's no confirmation that any are about to come. So that got confirmed as far as the demand existing from very many new safari parks in China, but no confirmation that, who is behind the shipment and so on. But I do have investigated an early such shipment from Tanzania, where there is a CITES import permit from China, which I have a copy of, which shows that 4 elephants were to be sold by Tanzania to China for $70,000 an elephant.
So you're saying the worth of these elephants is approximately $70,000 per. So we're talking 70,000 times 34.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking a lot of money.
Ridiculous.
Or was it 70,000 for 4 elephants? Was it per elephant?
Per
or
elephant.
4
No.
elephants.
Per.
Now, this was per elephant. I mean, 70,000 per
elephant.
This was the import. This was the CITES import document issued by China for these elephants from Tanzania, which listed this price.
But that's in the past. What we want to know is what's happening now. I mean, do you think there's any chance that the government of Zimbabwe could be convinced not to do this?
Yes, that if the elephant trying, the best argument is to follow that I've investigated in detail the trade of a lot of chimpanzees and gorillas that now is on to China from Africa, all illegal under CITES rules and regulations. But they're still all in China performing in zoos as these elephants will. That's where the big money is made in performances. That's what people want to see. So these elephants are trotted out to perform, or the chimps, or the bear, or the orangutan.
So the big business is in the United Arab Emirates. Basically, the UAE has already confiscated 4 it was last year and then the previous year as well. So they've been flying these animals and these 4 elephants last year to the UAE. So the airlines are in on it too. It's a big business. This is actually a prize that has now been established in the UAE with all of these rich sheiks that buy these animals for a status symbol, and for circuses there and to perform. So this needs to stop. This needs to stop now, and needs to stop at the Zimbabwe embassy, the Chinese embassy, and the UAE embassy here in New York. Because if we make a big deal out of it here, it'll be a big deal over there. If the U.S. gets involved, it's going to be a big deal.
Okay. I also feel like, what we want to do is just sort of wrap up this Google Hangout live chat.
I have a question.
Hold on one second, though. Can you just give us a report on what you know? Who, what, when, where, why, how? You are from, what is your name? Where are you calling from? And what do you know?
You
Who are
already
you
asked.
talking to?
Yeah, I was talking to you, Carl. If you could just give us an update, like here's what we know now.
Okay, I mean, I said what we know, that these elephants have been caught. They're sitting in some bomas, they're holding cages in this park in South Africa. That the story about them going to China, now the UN being mentioned as well, Libyan country. The best I can say, I know goes on in China, as far as the demand for elephants and high-profile wildlife and the legality of such shipments to China. But as far as what goes on at the moment in Zimbabwe, how they would travel, which route they would take, which airline, I have no information.
Now, where are they at this moment?
The report I had originally, there's Hangout National Park, and 7 kilometers from the park headquarters, there's an area where they, manage captive wildlife, and that's where they are. So 7 kilometers from the headquarters of the park.
Okay, Judy Mancuso wants to ask you a question.
Well, first off, I want to follow up on what is the park's name. That's my first question, but then I have a second. What is that park's name where they're at?
H-A-N-G-W-E. It's quite a well-known park down in Zimbabwe.
And GW.
And your second question?
My second question is this completely legal?
Okay, I mean, it can be legal on the CITES Convention is the only tool which restricts international trafficking of wildlife across borders. In the CITES context, it can then that if there's no laws are infringed on. So the first question would be, can baby elephants be taken from their mothers under Zimbabwe's national wildlife management laws?
Mhm.
If any aspect of their law been locally infringed on in the capture of these elephants, then Zimbabwe could not issue a CITES export permit, China could not issue an import permit. At the receiving end, if China single these elephants in a performance setting, then they would infringe on their own national laws. China's national law rules of housing and infrastructure saying there is to be no animal shows in zoos. That's about 3-4 years old. It exists. It's totally ignored by most of safari parks. But nevertheless, if they issued an import permit for this elephant and used these elephants in a performance setting, it would infringe on national law. Therefore, there should be no import permit issued or an absolute guarantee that none of these elephants will ever be used in a performance show type of setting.
Okay,
These
so
are the legal aspects.
okay, so just to simplify, there are rules and regulations in place that these baby elephants should not be leaving Zimbabwe and should not be received by China for entertainment purposes.
Or the UAE.
Or, well, let me just get this. Is that correct? Did I understand you?
I mean, it is correct. As I said, it's conditionally correct. If any laws have been infringed on in Zimbabwe, if you export the CITES, one meant to be a non-detriment fine scientific authority of Zimbabwe saying that it will not impact the wild population detrimentally, meaning enough elephants that they can justify to take these babies, and therefore there should be no problem to export them. But if in the capture process or what they're doing now, a lot infringed on, then automatically that would not allow to issue the CITES export permit. CITES being the international component of the law, and they said the same applies to China. If there was any intention of using these animals in a performance setting which would be against national law in China, therefore they shouldn't be issuing an import permit.
Okay, so then one last question then. I understand all that. We've got that. The latest Telegraph report said they were, and this was from Savior himself, who I guess sets up the deal, says that they are going to the UAE. They are not going to China. They are going to UAE.
United Arab Emirates.
Yes.
And that they have veterinarians on their way to check out where they're going to be received. That's the latest in the Telegraph on their website. Have you seen that? And would the same rules and regulations apply in the UAE as you described in China?
Okay, I mean, first of all, I have seen both reports. The initial report said there were Zimbabwean officials in China checking out the facilities to ensure that they were adequate. And I would be absolutely sure that China paid for these visits by these officials. So if they went there, there clearly was an intention to export them. If anything had changed on that front, then that has not been made public. Now, the UAE fact is, of course, that I don't believe the UAE wants 34 elephants. Even if you are a very wealthy private collector, 1 or 2 elephants is quite enough in your backyard. Why would anybody want 34?
34 babies.
Could it?
It could be that they're going to both countries. In other words, it could be that some are going to go to China and some are going to go to the United Arab Emirates.
I have
so we need
another
to go
question.
to both places.
Could they use them for canned hunts? Is that what they're used for in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, I mean, I'm excluding that it could happen in somewhere, but I mean, it would be idiotic to import an elephant from Zimbabwe to the US and hunt it the same shape. He can jump on his private jet, fly to South Africa, and shoot a wild elephant without dogs at much less cost. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Just like to show off with their private collections. It's not just the US, it's the whole Central Asia. There are now lots of oligarchs with a lot of private collections. They have tigers, they have chimpanzees, they have pretty much everything in their backyard.
Well, it's not just these elephants now. We found out
Yeah,
that it's lions
apparently
as well.
there's lions that are involved as well.
Yeah.
Now, so essentially, what this is this could be the start of some horrific, massive export. And the reason Zimbabwe needs this or thinks they need this, even though I think it's the worst thing for their country, is just simply cold hard cash.
Look, Zimbabwe says it needs the cash. There's very few countries in this part of the world which doesn't need cash. So if you accept that as an excuse, then you can as well sell everything which runs around in these parts of Africa, because all these countries need cash to manage natural resources. So that cannot be an argument.
Well, here's the thing. Carl, if they need cash, they need to invest in ecotourism, right? Correct. So that's what they need to preserve their wildlife, because that's the #1 source of income for these countries these animals. They need to preserve them.
We can write scripts for people, but that's not,
ridiculous.
it's just, this is money that they want, and they think they're gonna get it.
Well,
so
they're not.
Let me clarify one aspect here. That is, CITES one animal, which elephants are meant to be. There's, the highest priority listing of CITES is 1. They should not be exported for any commercial reason.
Exactly.
So if money changes hands and if there's a fee being paid to watch these elephants at whichever end, that would infringe on CITES. Now, export and import permit, but in Zimbabwe, these elephants are listed down. There was a special request to down them to CITES 2, and that was granted. That they have enough elephants and that named hunt, but others as well want to hunt these elephants. Therefore, there was a down to generate revenue for these 4 countries by the hunting of elephants. And
Listen,
I don't think anybody anticipated that this down to CITES 2 would also involve the export of baby elephants. So that opens a whole can of worms. And you could talk to your U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as well. Then where do they stand? Did they anticipate when they pushed for downlisting of these elephants that it would, in the end, not just involve a few old adult male elephants being hunted, but also babies being caught?
Well, I just want to thank you for taking the time. This is an odd situation for anybody watching this, is that we tried to do a Google Hangout. You're in Africa. Where are you exactly again?
I'm up from Kenya.
You're in Kenya. Okay, so you're talking from Kenya, and we're talking about the situation that is just breaking now, where the Zimbabwe government has apparently used helicopters and ground troops to round up 34 elephants, baby elephants ripped from their mothers for export. And we're hearing conflicting reports, whether it's the United Arab Emirates or China or both. And we want to get this information out there in the hopes that somehow we can persuade the government of Zimbabwe not to export them, and or persuade the government of the United Arab Emirates and or China not to accept them. So we're going to stay on top of this. Thank you so much, Carl Ammon. You are the journalist there on the ground in Africa who broke this story. And we're going to do everything we can to bring it to the world. And we appreciate it. Keep us updated on your progress. I'm here in New York. This is Jane Velez-Mitchell with Jane Unchained and Katie Clary with Peace for Animals. And we're just trying to get the word out about this horror. so that people can do something about it.
Hashtag Zimbabwe elephants, please, you guys, Twitter, because everyone's listening, everyone's watching. We just got information from one of the largest wildlife organizations in Africa, and they said, make sure that you hashtag Zimbabwe elephants on Twitter. Please share this episode. Please write your congressmen, write your state officials, because this is very important, because if we make noise, they will hear it.
That's what we've got to do. We've got to make noise right now. All right. Thank you so much, and keep us posted.
Thank you.